Today marks 1721st day of daily lessons and day reflections. And today I speak about clarity. Such interesting thing because sometimes when I ask questions of people and they just seem to go circles, and I found myself that sometimes I was lacking clarity as well a lot of times because we seek something certainly not clarity, but clarity is the thing that we actually need. The more clarity you have, the easier it is to actually achieve success. And today we'll share why it's so difficult sometimes to develop that clarity. And I'll share seven ideas or thoughts or perspectives that we're able to reflect on just to make sure that we understand where the blind spots could be potentially regarding developing clarity. So number one is that you don't know the difference between your authentic self and your adaptive self. Such an interesting thing because I know that maybe not every single person has adaptive self, but I had it. I had it. Like when I was trying to understand who I am, and for different reasons, and I used to have authentic me and adaptive me, and I used to be able to really like fit into different environments. And sometimes you have that mask on yourself for so long that you start to believe that this is who you actually are, but deep down subconsciously understand that it's not you. This is just a mask. This adaptive self, not authentic you. And that's why sometimes it's very, very difficult to understand. Okay, like, so is that adaptive me is me or authentic me is me? So which one is it? And that clarity is sometimes distorted because one part of you wants to do one thing, other part of you is one other thing, and then you start to think, okay, which one am I? If both of them are coming into my plate, and sometimes we being able to really look and ask questions to really figure out which one you are and be. But that's again the question is that when you start liking that one side and or other side, and maybe there's something that you're able to have some clues that that part is true authentic you, and that was just performative and to belong to some circle. Number two is that your ego would rather consistently unhappy, be consistently happy than temporarily uncertain. And this is one of the biggest things regarding clarity is that our ego wants certainty. But if you want to develop clarity, what it means that you will need to go through uncertainty. It's almost impossible to develop clarity through certainty alone. But our mind loves certainty and doesn't want to let go of certainty. So every aspect that we need to develop clarity, that means we will need to go into the fog. Our mind and our ego doesn't like fog. Our mind wants to know exactly what's going on to protect, to survive, and and of for clarity that is terrible. There isn't certainty is the worst environment for clarity, and that's why it's extremely difficult to develop clarity because we seek our egos seek certainty and to keeps that certainty. And of course that's keeps us in a stable identity that is sometimes is not beneficial, self-sabotaging identity. Number three, you are trying to eliminate contradiction instead of integrating. This is again I learned quite recently that life is about contradictions, and sometimes we can see okay even that ambivert, like are you extrovert or are you introvert? Maybe you are both at the same time. Maybe you like to be extroverted in one area of life and be introverted in another area of life. You're not able to say that I cannot be extremes on both sides. Or maybe you are extremes. In one area, as I said, that you're extremely extrovert, in one area, you're extremely introvert. And being able to really acknowledge that paradoxical way of living. Maybe you are very, very, very kind to one person and unkind to another person. And you're able to really find that contradiction within yourself. And I think this is extremely important to understand that we not need to eliminate contradictions. Just ask questions, okay, why the contradiction was created in the first place? Partly it might be that one is authentic you and one is adaptive you. That's again we were discussed. It might be that one part of you that is creating contradiction was created from mask rather than who you truly are. Or it might be that this is who you truly are, but it's just different aspects of life. Maybe you are extremely ambitious in sports, but in other areas you choose to be extremely unambitious. And that contradiction is is great, and to really integrate and understand who you truly are is important, and it totally makes sense to be ambitious and peaceful, strong and sensitive. There's a lot of contradictions that people could potentially disseminate, playful, and I think that we able to integrate rather than denied. Number four, you mistake your inner narrator for objective reality. And there is a beautiful book. I again forgot the name. Untethered Soul. I think that's a book, and it really speaks quite a very. I find it very well speaks about our inner narrator, our mind, our radio mind, that constantly speaking, always narrating, and we need to understand this is not who we are. It's just the mind playing games with us and being able to really observe the narrator rather than accept the truth of the narrator. I think that's such an important thing. One of the biggest things that I learned in last year is that being able to observe that inner narrator. Because such an interesting thing, sometimes I used to be feeling sad for all that negative thoughts is coming into to me, that potentially is that diminishing thoughts. And then when you remember that this is not who you are, this is just inner narrator, and be able to really start to really observe it, it doesn't attach that to the reality, and really it for me, I found it extremely beneficial to really observe an inner narrator rather than accept it. And again, this that inner narrator could potentially slow us down regarding developing clarity, because that inner narrator is changing his mind all the time. Is one idea different idea, third idea, and being able to really observe it and allow ourselves to remove a little bit out of that will allow us to give a little bit more clarity. Number five, you secretly believe clarity will remove suffering. Interesting that sometimes we believe that okay, like when I will have clarity, everything will be great, and it's such an interesting thing that this is very this is will be very interesting thought that I think that we able to reflect. Before clarity, we are suffering because of indecision. When we develop clarity, we suffering, but because of sacrifice, because of the trade-offs. Because now, when we have clarity, now we're able to say that I know what are my non-negotiables. I know who I am and what I'm supposed to do, what my dedications, what my commitments, what my aspirations. And now because of that, I'm able to really move those, to really make those right choices, make those sacrifices. And there will be always sacrifices. There will be some kind of pain and suffering and struggle, but there's different kind of struggle. And such an important topic that when you don't have clarity, you struggle because of indecision. When you have clarity, now you're finally able to really make decisions and really execute, and really you struggle because of the sacrifice that you're making. Is that those are huge differences, and that's why it's extremely important to have that clarity. Number six, you are asking your future self to save your present self. Sometimes I think about, okay, like my future me will be confident, courageous, brave. This is the same thing, but you really list curious, intelligent, wise. Like you can really list that person, like, and when I will come up with the problem that I have right now, we'll solve it immediately, and we expect that future us somehow will pop up immediately and help us. But I think that one thing that we need to really understand is that that future us is not coming to save us. It's more of a future me, future you, future us is hoping that we'll make final decision to really take action. And our future me is waiting for me to make decision. Our future me is looking forward to meet my old version of me. So that means that future me is more dependent on current me than me on future me. Such an interesting thing. That's again, we need to really allocate our time more to develop me currently rather than hoping that future me somehow be able to really show up today. And last one, number seven, you are searching for yourself as if you were an object instead of someone you are continuously creating. And this is one of the well, a lesson I learned this lesson a while ago, and I really loved it, and I still love it, and I will probably love it all the time. Is that we're not able to find ourselves. The most important part is to be able to create ourselves, build ourselves, to explore ourselves, expose ourselves to different things. And because we exposing and creating and building, at that moment you actually find yourself. You've never been lost. The only thing that I think that is massive excuse that I didn't find myself, so that's why I didn't build anything yet. I didn't create anything. But when you build it, when you create something, at that moment you able to actually able to find it, because I think that you find yourself while you building it. It's impossible to find yourself by reflecting on what potential could be, and I think that that's most important thing. And again, clarity. One of the one of the things why we don't have clarity is that we just lack execution. We still hope that we'll find ourselves without execution. And execution is necessary to develop clarity. So I want you to reflect, because we have a tendency to really have self-deception, and clarity is hands down one of the most important topics of all, because some days you have so much energy to do the things that you could potentially do, but you don't have clarity, and you allocate your energies to 100 directions because you're still looking what to do, and that energy is wasted. Sometimes you can have a little bit just energy, limited energy, but you know what to do with that energy. You can outperform a person who has a lot of energy but don't have clarity and just waste all over the place. And sometimes that's why I think that if you don't have clarity yet, but you have a lot of energy, allocate a lot of your energy to develop clarity. Because as I said, that a person with a little bit lower energy but with a higher clarity will win in the long run. So I hope you choose to win, and see you tomorrow.